like in terms of the crowd that WWE started reintroducing and that AEW started reintroducing, I feel like the way that AEW is doing it is a little more pleasant to watch. Like it just feels more real. And even though in terms of social distancing, they might not be doing as well, it just looks more natural because they have like heels on the one side of the ring and faces on the other side of the ring, and we have like both sides of the story basically, just like you would have with a normal live audience, because it's utopian to think that the whole entire audience is supposed to cheer for faces. Like it doesn't happen. It will never happen, and it's natural and normal. And WWE's approach feels a little pasteurized with how everyone's wearing like a Drew McIntyre shirt and like cheering for faces, and like we see Malcolm Bivens, like of all people, applaud Drew McIntyre, which is really strange. But yeah, I feel like both companies are doing their best. So.
Yeah, I get what you mean with the WWE. It's kind of like they've got a studio audience, and there's a guy that we don't see who's got a board saying cheer, boo, this chant, that chant, and because I was told as well that when they're doing these tapings, that those people that are there, they're standing there for like 9 hours.
Yes, also
That's
that,
crazy. I mean, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, like of course they can be like distance, but who would be hurt by like a chair thrown in there? Like that's just, it's kind of, again, I don't mean to somehow discredit WWE. I obviously love WWE, and I always have, and I watch it and support it, and I don't think I'll ever stop supporting it unless something like really, really out of bounds happens. But I feel like with a lot of things that they do and that they introduce, a good intent is there, but then they manage to execute it in a way that inevitably hurts someone, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, I get you. I think my experience and takeaway from not having a crowd is I can't say I've enjoyed it as much. WrestleMania for me just felt so flat compared to what I was used to, and I just couldn't enjoy it as much. I really liked the Boneyard match, and I really liked the Firefly Funhouse match. I thought they were done very well, and I'm more of an old school fan, so that kind of stuff, that cinematic movie type thing doesn't always appease me. It doesn't please me all the time, but I kind of bought that because of the characters in it more than anything. But the NXT show that was just on, the In Your House, what I liked about that compared to the other ones is they darkened everything down, and so you couldn't see the walls, and I couldn't see that
all the
bloody
seats.
that spinning fan at the top that you see all the time. Like those things irritate me and take me out of it. But I felt they might have been better to do that earlier on when they were doing these shows, just to darken everything out, because then you kind of can't see.
I feel like another thing about In Your House was that there was like some kind of a stage built, and like there were some people, so it felt more alive in itself. And they couldn't afford to do that for WrestleMania because they couldn't have as much people in the building at one time. So they couldn't have built anything of that scale. But to me, WrestleMania was kind of a roller coaster, and I had like really mixed emotions about WrestleMania because, of course, there were some great matches, and I loved the NXT Women's Championship match. I felt like, and again, we saw Charlotte and Rhea Ripley in the same ring again just recently at In Your House, and I feel like they have such a great chemistry, they have such a great dynamic, and they go really hard at each other, and it makes it look so raw and real, and I really, really enjoyed that match. But then again, without the crowd and without all like, pyro and like a stage and stuff like that, it did feel a little bland on the whole. But then the Firefly Funhouse match, again, some people who like know me and who have been following me on social media and who have been listening to my takes about wrestling know that I am by no means a fan of John Cena. Like I strongly dislike the guy. And and when I saw the Firefly Funhouse match, like for the first time in my life, I tweeted that this was like an amazing John Cena match, even though it can't really be qualified as a match. Like it was more of a segment. But it was the one time that I really appreciated John Cena's work, and I really appreciated the way that there was this really healthy self-reflection in there. So that really, really did it for me.
Yeah. What is it about John Cena that rubs you the wrong way?
I don't really want to go that in depth on this topic, especially on a public platform. Because there are some things that are merely theories or like gossip or stuff like that, but they still have shaped my opinion on this person. And I'll just go and say that I am not the person to separate art from the artist. Like, in no way am I insinuating that he's a bad performer. Of course not. But it's just the whole entire aura of the person that just irks me. So.
Fair enough. Now, are you a Charlotte Flair fan or are you not a Charlotte Flair fan? Because on my podcast, I have listeners that either love her or hate her, and there's no in between. Where do you lie with Charlotte Flair?
It looks like there really isn't a happy medium, because I really do love Charlotte Flair.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I'm kind of
the
a fan
best
of hers.
Women's wrestlers possibly in history ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm a fan of hers, to be fair. I think that I know a lot of people say she's had it easy because she's Ric Flair's daughter, but I actually think it's the other way round. I think she's had so much more pressure put on her, and the fact that me personally, I think Charlotte Flair at this time, and I said this a couple of years ago, but just recently as well, I think she's the best current talent that WWE has in terms of the way she carries herself, the way she wrestles, the way she presents herself. Like it's very believable, and she draws me in. Like when I see her talking and she comes across in the heel way, like I'm kind of drawn into it. So she does an excellent job. Whereas who I haven't been a fan of, and I found it really difficult to really get into the character, because again, I shouldn't be liking her anyway, but is Bayley. I found it very hard to get her character, and I kind of feel like, she's an amazing performer in the ring, but I just don't think she's almost like trying so hard to do the role of playing a bad person. It's like you can kind of see through it too much. But I do like Bayley as a performer, and when I saw her once in New York and she had that match with Sasha Banks, I was blown away. I thought it was the best match I'd ever seen in person. But to see where she's gone now and to play this, I never thought she'd be a heel ever. I never thought WWE would do that. I just thought she sells too much merch, the kids love her, etc., etc. So I was quite shocked that they did that. But with Bayley, do you think there's a way of ever getting her back as I'm probably sure they will when they give up on this eventually. But do you think that she'll have the same impact with all those kids again, or do you think they're treading easy water?
No, I really don't think there's a way back to that Bayley that everyone loved so much, and that was happy. But I really liked her when they just heel turned her. I thought that was really interesting, and for me, the whole catch of this character was that she doesn't realize that she's a bad person. And that was very deep and profound and kind of ominous in a way, and really interesting. But when they went all the way with it and cut her ponytail off and changed her gear and stuff, it kind of got lost in there. And now I'm not sure what she's trying to do here. What are we supposed to feel? I am sure that there is a way to develop that heel character, and maybe she will get completely to something so very different from her initial Bayley persona, and I think that would be a better way for her than trying to turn back time and rewind and get her back to the Bayley that the kids love, because there's no coming back to that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, they always say with WWE audience that they have a short memory, but I'm not sure that they're going to accept her back again. I agree.
It's funny how they assume that say 6 months have passed and we don't remember what was back then, but the truth of the matter is we do, and the audience does. And there are so many people that I've even encountered on wrestling Twitter or on wrestling social media that are so meticulous of keeping track of storylines and of relationships between characters, and not because they want to I don't know, to like stick it up to WWE, but just because they find it fascinating. And I always say that continuity is one of the most beautiful things about wrestling. So I feel like assuming that we just forget stuff is one of like the biggest misconceptions that WWE is trying to like to manipulate.
I think that for me personally, being a long time WWE fan, sometimes you're not always rewarded for being that attentive, because it's sometimes internally they throw you things that they want you to forget, and they might not show you things that have been in the past. So I remember, like, for instance, the Daniel Bryan storyline when he won it at WrestleMania 30. They never showed, obviously, clips of the match with Sheamus, of those times when he was heel. So they're very good at editing and masking some stuff. But like, that's one of the reasons I liked the Firefly Funhouse match, because it really rewarded you for sticking close to seeing what they were doing, and, you know, between their last match to this time and what had happened to Bray. So there was a nice payoff as a fan to watch that, and that's why I kind of enjoyed that. Like you said, it's not really a match; it's more of a segment that we saw. But it was well done, and it was showing you the breakdown, almost a character arc of somebody going full circle. Now, obviously, you do interviews as well. Tell us about some of the people you've had on recently, and the variety that you've got. I see a few names. I saw a couple of names that I'm big fans of myself.
Yeah, I've had interviews with Joey Ryan, with Nick Gage, with PJ Black, with Wade Barrett again. And I've also had interviews with so many different wrestlers from around the world, because like I find a special like fascination in talking about wrestling and wrestling scene in a country where it's very young, like even younger than it is in Russia. So I have interviews with Norwegian wrestlers, with Hungarian wrestlers, and I have like a really fundamental and hopefully entertaining video about wrestling in Romania. Like when last time I went to Romania, I made an effort to like see whether there was any wrestling there, and I realized that there was one wrestling school / one wrestling promotion in the entire country, and it was like, I don't want to lie right now, I don't remember, but like 5-ish years old, and it was brought in there by an Irish wrestler who moved to Romania and decided to build up the wrestling scene in Romania. And that's so fascinating to me, because in 20, 30, 50 years, this person will be remembered for being the one who established the whole entire wrestling scene in the country. Like, how amazing is that?
Yeah, yeah.
So I really, really love discovering such things.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, that is crazy to think where it will be. That guy is going to be remembered in high regard when that stuff takes off. It's got to be a hard thing to do, because like, if you're going to a completely different country and you like that first show that you put on, I don't know how on earth I'd advertise it. I don't know what I would do, but it must be quite alien when you first put those posters out and stuff, and you're like presenting something wrestling. The word wrestling could mean
and people are like, what
things.
Is that?
Yeah. You know, all of a sudden the authorities get called out because they think there's some real bloodbaths going on down there. Now, in independent wrestling.
Yeah, and actually, talking about that, I've heard so many stories about young wrestling promotions in countries where wrestling is really young industry being banned from venues. Wow. Because like there was blood, not even intentional sometimes, or that they thought it was more violent than they had expected, and they were banned from venues. Like, imagine there's this like wrestling school that's the first in the country, and you are the one person completely responsible for that, and you're trying to get it off the ground. And then you have like throughout these like 5 years a list of like 10 venues that you're not allowed to perform.
Yeah,
Here, I told you today already about that sports festival that IWF Russia participates in, and just last year, again, there was no blade, no like hardcore wrestling, nothing. Like everything's so like PG-13, and then someone just got hurt. And the like promoters who organized this whole thing told them, like, if there's blood again, like, you're not allowed to participate anymore. So, and you're not gonna say it to a soccer player. You're not gonna say it to a hockey player, even though they might even fight on purpose and try and hurt each other. But for some reason, wrestling is treated so differently, and that's so unfair.
Yeah, that is That's got to be hard. I've heard of stories of that as well in other places, especially with the wrestlers